Good morning, everyone. This is Wendy Mata, the founder of the Psychic Side Gig, How to Make Money Doing Psychic Readings. And we are here today to talk about defining your ideal client. And this is coming from a couple of conversations that have happened in the group about ideal clients, about the avatars of your clients, about your niche, about the energy that you put out there and the clients that you work with and things like that. So this workshop was created for that, as well as some of the workbooks and information that come additional to this workshop. So thank you for joining, either if you're joining live or if you're going to be watching the recording later. Thank you for being here. And if you have any questions anytime, please just put it on the chat of the training, and I will be happy to answer your questions in real time. And if we are not in real time, just feel free to email me to info@wendymata.com or send me a personal message or just post your question in the group. So, defining your ideal client. Why does it matter to know your ideal client? Why does it even matter? Like, if we're doing readings, if we're doing psychic readings, if we're doing tarot readings, if we are doing mediumship, if we're doing any of the things that are connected to communicating with spirit, channeling spirit, why do we need to have an ideal client? Well, let me tell you something. I'm sure that you are very familiar with the law of attraction, and I'm sure you are very familiar with the concept that we create what we think, or that energy follows thought, or reality is the matrix that was created based on our dreams. And that sounds a little bit of an abstract concept that comes from shamanism, but if you think about it, if you have clarity about the person that you want to be working with, if you have clarity about the person that you can serve the best, if you have clarity about who you are meant to be serving, it's much better than not having clarity at all. Because what's going to happen is that if you have clarity about your ideal client, if you know who she is or who he is, if you know details that we're going to review later in this training, but if you know all these details about your ideal client, that's what you're going to start attracting. That's what you're going to start bringing. Some methodologies call them A+ clients, which is the client that you want to have. Some other methodologies call it the avatar. Some other methodologies call it your ideal client. I like to call it the ideal client just because, I know, that fits for me. But you can find this concept described in many ways on the internet. The difference is that many of the concepts that you can find online are only dedicated to the marketing perspective of an ideal client. And what we're going to be talking about today, or what we're talking about today, it's also connected into the energy of your ideal client and how your energy aligns to your ideal client. So we attract what we create in our minds. Scattered ideas generate scattered results. Intentional energy generates intentional results. So if you know what you're going for, the likelihood of getting into that end goal, the likelihood to connecting into your ideal client is much higher than if you have no idea who you're working with. And the more specialized you are, like the more specific, the more you know your niche, the more you know the kind of person that you want to work with, the more likely it is that you're going to be successful. The ideal client is the one that buys your services or products without minimizing the value of what you offer. He or she knows that she wants to do business with you. She's convinced, or he's convinced, that what you have to offer is better than anybody else around. And this is why it's so important also to be focused on a specific characteristic or a series of characteristics on your ideal client, because then you can work in that niche. You can work in that group of people that has the need for what you offer. There's a typo here, best niche, for him or for her. So what about these ideal client? What type of them are? How many of them exist? Like, okay, Wendy, I'm confused. What are you talking about? Well, there is a couple of different types of ideal clients. We have the active mode ideal client, and we have the passive mode ideal client. The active mode ideal client is the one that is already buying from you. And she or he may not be the one that you are already thinking that you want to have as a client, but this is the one that is already lining up to pay your services. This is the one that is already convinced of your value. This is the one that already knows that you are the person for them. And also your ideal client, another active mode ideal client, it's the one that already pays you the best. The ideal client is not trying to negotiate prices. The ideal client is not looking for the best price, is looking for the best quality. The ideal client is not looking for cheap, is looking for value. When you are so clear and so specific about your ideal client will not hesitate to have a decent exchange or a balanced exchange for your services. And some clients, are not for us. There's some people that is not our ideal client, and we are not for them, and they are not for us, and that's okay. But then we have the ideal client that is a perfect fit both ways, and then they want to continue buying our services. They want to continue buying our products. They want to continue being connected to what we have to offer. And then the passive mode ideal client, it's connected into what I call the client funnel. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with this concept. This is a sales concept that clients have a different, a different curve, where some of them are already aware of your product and ready to buy, and some of them are curious about what you have to offer. There's something called a client funnel. And your ideal client may be a passive mode client that it's on the awareness state. It may be someone that it's interested, but he hasn't bought your product yet, or that is considering to buy your product, but he hasn't bought it yet. It's somebody that would prefer to have your product, but he hasn't bought it yet. Or the active mode will be the one that is already ready to purchase, that is loyal, and that is also your advocate. So it's important that within the clientele that you have right now, you go and identify which clients are your passive clients and which clients are your active clients. And your ideal client, well, your ideal client is scary, and that's okay. And why is your ideal client scary? Your ideal client will push you to do the best that you can. It's going to push your boundaries, and it's going to demand the best of you. Your non-ideal client is like, meh, so-so. I'm going to give products or services, and whatever I give them is going to be fine. It's going to be okay. It's going to be meh. The ideal client, the non-ideal client is the meh one, and the ideal client is scary. And believe me, I have a lot of clarity of the people that I work with. I have a lot of clarity with my ideal client, and she is scary. She is scary because she's very successful. She's scary because she knows what she wants. She's scary because she always demands the best of me. She's scary because I have to show up fully and completely and be present for her to help her. Some other clients that are not my ideal client, they don't demand at this level. But also my ideal client, the scary client, this ideal client that I have, she also allows me to grow. She also allows me to expand. She also allows me within this challenge, within this positive challenge, she allows me to be the best that I can be. And my ideal client, your ideal client, it's the one that already loves your product, that already loves your services, that doesn't hesitate to buy whatever it is that you offer. And for this group, we offer psychic readings, we offer mediumship, we offer tarot readings, but whatever it is that you offer, there is a lot of healers in this group. There is a lot of people that shares many different modalities to connect to spirit. All of that applies to this structure of ideal client. And then your ideal client, and this is where, again, your ideal client needs to be a perfect fit. And it exists, believe me, it exists. I've done multiple exercises about connecting into my ideal client my entire life, or my entire business life. And she always shows up. With the methodology that I'm going to share in a few minutes, she always shows up. And she is stable. She has stable income, steady income. She's emotionally balanced, so she already knows what she wants. And she is willing to pay whatever it is because the services that she asks for are the best of quality. And the ideal client, she is very fun to work with. She uplifts you, and it's not her responsibility to uplift you, of course, but he or she are a pleasure to work with. And yes, they're scary, and yes, they stretch you a little bit, but it's amazing to work with your ideal client. Working with your ideal client makes you feel fulfilled, makes you feel happy. It doesn't deplete you. And that's a great way of knowing also which ones are your clients and which ones are not your ideal clients, besides the clarity of the energetic being that they are and the characteristics. You may have clients within your current clientele that make you really depleted. You may have clients that as soon as you're done with a session, you are like, oh my God, hi, Alcina from Toronto, good to talk to you. You may have those clients that you end the session and you're exhausted. You may have those clients that are clingy. You may have those clients that demand more than what they're paying for. You may have those clients that are never happy. You may have those clients that are just not fun to work with. And, sometimes when you're just starting, maybe you have to take those clients because you want to make a quick cash. But the recommendation is always that you aim for your perfect client, that you aim for your niche, that you aim for the one that fits what you need, and yet you fit what she needs, what he needs. So it's fun to work with. You want to work with your ideal client all the time. Your ideal client feels so fun that you almost will do what you're doing for free. And of course, you don't want to do it for free because this is a business, but it's so fun to work with her that you're like, yes, I have a client that I love. Yes, I have a client that I want to work with her again. And we talk a little bit about the client funnel, and this is not a class about client funnels, but just be sure that you have a short-term strategy and a long-term strategy for engaging with your clients. And this is slide number, I didn't number them, but this is the slide. I'm not sure if, okay, there. I see now that the screen changed. So this is the slide of client funnel. And if you need a little more of an idea of what a client funnel is, just come to this slide, and this gives you a little bit of clarity by the words and the happy faces and not very happy faces here in this slide. And just be sure that while you are in your business journey, that you're having those strategy moments, those strategy sessions where you are thinking about the short-term and long-term for engaging your perfect client. And again, sometimes you got to take some clients that are not necessarily the perfect client because you want to make a quick cash. But if you're thinking strategically, you want to be spending your energy and your time with the right client. You want to be spending the time with the one that is loyal. You want to be spending the time with the one that is ready to purchase. You want to be aware of where within the funnel your client is. For example, I have a lot of clarity. Some people are what I will call the takers. They love free information. They love free readings. They love this phrase that always drives me nuts, and I get it a lot in my working technologies. I have my business for psychic readings, but I also work in technology and data analytics. And always I have these people calling me all the time saying, hey, can I pick your brain on something? And every time that someone says that, it's like, oh my God, this person wants free consulting. This person wants free information. And it's the same with psychic readings. There's always people that want free stuff, but they're really not willing to pay for what you're providing. And then typically the ones that want free stuff are the most difficult clients. And also they wonder why their life is not changing, but they're really not willing to invest on making the best life possible. They're really not willing to invest on having the life of their dreams, of doing what it takes to connect to spirit, of doing what it takes to just be who they were meant to be. And I also find very interesting, for example, like I have a training for shamanism, and like I come from a family of shamans. So since I grew up, I grew up in the world of energy. And all the time, there's all these people calling me with questions about, hey, how do I develop my intuition? Hey, how do I use this gift? Hey, I had this dream. What does it mean? And all these questions that they're just free stuff. And I know that some of them eventually will convert to clients, but I also know I have clarity. I have my own processes to understand which ones are just freeloaders, which ones are just takers. So be sure that when you're having interactions, you have an understanding that some people want free stuff and some people want services. And if since the beginning you establish your relationships knowing what that person wants, what that person needs, then it's going to be easier to deal with these kind of people. It's going to be easier to deal with these kind of clients. And then some of the key factors of your ideal client, and this is slide number 6 from the presentation that it's right now, that you can see on the Facebook Live and that I am going to send via email after this training. Some of the key factors of your ideal client. What do they do for a living? Who's your ideal client? What do they do? Like, do you want to work with people that has a steady income, or do you want to work with people that doesn't have a job? Do you want to work with people that work in a specific niche? For example, a lot of my clients, they work in technology because I understand the technology world, because I've been working in technology development for 17 years. So most of my clients are people that understand, like mainly in cybersecurity, mainly in data analytics, mainly in IT fields, right? So my ideal client, I know what they do for a living. My ideal client works in cybersecurity, works in data analytics, works in IT, because I can support them the best in that area, because that's my area of expertise. And while if I'm doing a reading for them, it may not necessarily matter what they do for a living, but by understanding what they do for a living and that aligning to what I do, then I can communicate in their language. I can communicate with examples and metaphors that apply to who they are. And that's really important, because if you figured out how to communicate with your client in their language, in their level, then they will always come back for more. So what does your ideal client do for a living? What do they do? And then another very important question is, where do they live? Is your ideal client a local client? Is your ideal client a client that lives in Canada, in Ireland, in Finland, in Mexico? Where do they live? Is your ideal client somebody that you're going to work face-to-face? Or is your ideal client located anywhere in the world? Where do they live? It's important. It's very important to know, what are you looking for? What are you expecting? And also, of course, this is important because the more clarity you have about where do they live, the more efficient you can be when you're doing your targeted ads on social media. Because if you're doing social media marketing, you know that if you do a Facebook ad, for example, you can specify which people from what area of the world will see the ad. You can specify, okay, I want women from 25 to 45-year-old that live in the Washington, D.C. area. And I'm just putting an example. So it's important to know where do they live. It's important for your marketing strategy. It's important for the energetic perspective too. It's important for cultural understanding of your client. It's important to know who they are. Where do they live? How do they live? And then, of course, your ideal client, they come to you because they have a question, right? They need something. Either you're giving them energy healing, or you're giving them coaching, or you're giving them something. Your ideal client has a problem to solve. Your ideal client has a pain point that you can facilitate moving from pain to pleasure. So what problem is your ideal client trying to solve? Having clarity about this is very, very important. And this is connected to your products, and this is connected to your services, right? Whatever you're offering to your client, whether it's a tarot reading, or whether it's a channeling, whether it's a mediumship, whether it's coaching, whether it's healing, whatever you are offering needs to be targeted to the problem that your client is trying to solve. And how do you do that if what you do is readings? Well, as I have mentioned before in our group, most of my work, it's limited availability offerings. And my limited availability offerings are created based on the needs of my clients. Like, for example, the last limited availability offering that I created was the Valentine's one, where I was helping people connect to their soulmate and gain clarity on who this person was, how did this person look like, and all the values and things that were connected into their relationship. So I knew that that was the problem to solve, and I created readings specifically for connecting to the soulmate, for knowing what to heal in order to be in a healthy relationship and things like that. So what problem are they trying to solve? And then, of course, who does your ideal client talk to, right? You want to know where your client hangs out. Is your client in a bar? Is your client in a church? Is your client in an office? Is your client someone that spends their time in coffee shops? Is your client somebody that talks to strangers in airports? What does your ideal client do? And why you want to know this? Because the more you know about who your client talks to, those are keys for information for where you can market your products and services. For example, if you're going for offering tarot readings, you want to look for places that you know that clients go asking for things similar to tarot readings. For example, if this means that your ideal clients hang out in crystal shops, this means that your ideal clients hang out in witchy shops. This means maybe that your clients go to yoga classes and they talk to yogis. These may be many things, right? So you want to have clarity of who your ideal client talks to. And then, of course, you want to know how much money they make. You want to know how much money they make because you want to know how much they're going to pay for your services. And sadly, there's a lot of people out there that it's underpricing the communication with spirit. And they go for non-ideal clients that are willing to pay, I don't know, $15, $20 for an hour reading. And then that somehow may affect the short-term gaining of clients. But if you're tailoring something specific, like my ideal client makes, I don't know, 50,000 euros, $100,000, whatever the number is, then you can start tailoring your services and products to the disposable income that your ideal client has. And of course, if you have clarity about what product and service you offer and what problem it solves, you want to find a specific one that people will be willing to pay pretty much anything just so that they can solve their problem. And this applies to readings, this applies to coaching, this applies to healing, this applies to everything that we are and what we do. If you have any questions or comments, please just let me know in the chat. And then I'm moving on to next slide. So I'm waiting. I think that there is a little bit of a delay between what I can see in my computer and what you can see. So I'm waiting here just to be sure that the slide changes. There it is. So I'm going to talk to you today about Rachel. And Rachel, she was my ideal client back in 2012. Rachel and I are not necessarily working anymore together because I changed my products and services. But in 2012, when I was working really relentlessly into figuring out my niche, into figuring out my strategy, into figuring out who was going to be my ideal client, I did a lot of work into defining who that was. And my ideal client, her name was Rachel. And I know this because I did a series of guided meditations that I will meet with her. I will meet with my ideal client in a specific place that my subconscious took me to. And I will meet in person my ideal client in this guided meditation. And my ideal client will tell me their name, will tell me what they did, and will connect with me energetically. So at that point, the problem that I was trying to solve is that I was trying to solve loneliness. I was, the point where I was in my life, I was traveling a lot. I was probably in an airplane maybe 50% of the time. And I always felt like I didn't have a tribe. I felt like I didn't have a community in the Washington, D.C. area because of work. And then this made me think, well, how do you meet people? How do you meet people when you're always traveling? How do you meet people? How do you connect locally when you are mostly around the globe? And I decided to start making connections. I decided it's like a very conscious effort of connecting to people. And I created a strategy for creating a tribe. So back in 2012, after I used that strategy on myself, after I followed that blueprint on myself, I realized that that was something that other people out there will need to. And I decided that I was going to sell a coaching program where I was going to help people create a tribe. And this specifically was for people like Rachel. And this is why Rachel is my ideal client. Rachel, she is a world traveler. I actually, when I connected into that guided meditation, she showed up in her airport clothes and her luggage, just like you can see in the screen right now in this little like drawing here. And she is single. So when I was offering this program, I was offering this program for single women, no kids. And Rachel is single. And then, Rachel was looking for connection. Rachel was looking for a tribe because she felt lonely, because she was traveling all the time, which is how I felt in 2012 when I developed this coaching program. And that was the problem that Rachel had. Rachel needed to connect. Rachel needed to have a tribe. So that was what she needed, and that's what I had to offer. Rachel, she had a 6-figure salary, so she was doing good. She was a professional, and I didn't add this here, but it actually is here. So she worked in technology, and she was overall a happy person. Rachel was somebody that didn't necessarily have problems on connecting to people or creating connections because of mental issues. She just didn't have the idea of how to do that. So, and there's actually more information about Rachel than what is in this slide. But one of the things that Rachel also had was that she was new in town. So she was an expat. So she moved from a different place to the Washington, D.C. area or to anywhere in the world where she was living. And she needed to figure out ways to connect into a brand new tribe. She didn't have family around. She didn't have friends around. And at least in the DC area where I live, there's a lot of people like this. So most of my coaching was in person at that point. There was a little bit of online, but when I was in town, I did the coaching in person, and then I took some of the clients online. So, but this Rachel, this ideal client, she was happy, but she was just, she didn't have a tribe. She didn't have friends, and she wanted to know how to create a healthy tribe, healthy friends when she was an adult. And I don't know where you live in the world, but over here where we are, it's kind of hard to make friends sometimes. So this blueprint that I developed was very helpful for my clients. They have their tribes, they now have their community. And this is something that clients like Rachel were looking to pay for. Like they didn't mind. They didn't mind what I was charging. And this was more coaching. I was doing a little bit of channeling on it, and I was doing a little bit of holistic healing too in that program. So it was a combination. But my ideal client was very clear. And then all my marketing was targeted to clients like Rachel. I knew where she hung out. I knew what places she went to. I knew what places she traveled to. I knew where to find her. So I tailor everything that I was putting out there for grabbing clients like her. So she was my ideal client. And right now I have a different ideal client. I have different programs. I have different offerings. So I no longer work with Rachel. I am friends with a lot of the Rachels actually now that, years later. So moving on, let's see the next slide. This is slide 8 of 12 from the slides that I am now showing on the Facebook Live, and that after the Facebook Live it's over, I am going to send via email. So how do you find your ideal client? How? And there's of course all these typical marketing online marketing and printed marketing, which I don't believe is effective anymore. I don't really think that anybody like reads a lot of newspapers or magazines or things like that. I think that people's not necessarily reading tangible paper anymore. It's more reading online. Business. You can partner with yoga studios. You can partner with crystal shops. You can partner with witchy shops. You can find people that have the network that includes your ideal client and work with that people. There's a lot of other ways, to do that. But what makes a gigantic, not tiny, a gigantic, a huge difference is the energetic connection to your ideal client. And this makes even more sense than anything. And I know because I've been practicing these for years. And I know because it's always effective. And I know because my ideal clients always show up because I have this specific methodology for calling them. And without getting into much details, because it's a process of guided meditations into expanding your consciousness to connecting to the soul of our clients. I invite you that when you have clarity on your products and services, and then you have clarity on your niche, and then you have clarity on your ideal client, I invite you to start connecting energetically to your client. I invite you to imagine that your heart expands so big that touches her, that touches him. I invite you to find tools to do that energetic connection. I invite you to talk to her soul, to his soul, and tell them, hey, I'm ready. I'm here for you. Find me. I'm going to leave the breadcrumbs so you can, see the light on the end of the tunnel and find me as your reader, as your healer, as your coach, as your whatever. And find ways within all the tools that you have. And if you don't have tools, reach out to me and I can provide you with some tools. Find a way of creating an energetic connection to your ideal client. Find a way of connecting to her heart. Find a way to connect to her mind. Find a way to connect to her auric field. Find a way to connect to her chakras. And this is not from the not in a negative way, but in a inviting way of, hey, I am here and I am looking for you. And this is the energy that I have to offer. This is the frequency that I have to offer. This is the light that I have to offer. The difference between connecting with your ideal client energetically and connecting with your ideal client with typical marketing tools, which are also really good and really effective, is that you go in an interplanetary level of connection. You reach out in a multidimensional way. You reach out in an energetic way. And because you are in this group and you do channeling or readings or mediumship or other types of connection with spirit, you know that everything is energy. You know that everything is alignment to energy. So connect to her energetically. Connect to him energetically. Find the tools that will allow you to connect in that level. Find the tools that will allow you to after you have the clarity, after you know what you're selling, after you know what's their problem that you're trying to solve, after you know their niche, after you know where they live, how much money they make, even how they look like, connect to their energy. Connect into their soul. Connect into their frequency. This is what's going to make a huge difference. It's going to make a huge difference because then the right client is going to start arriving. And you're not going to have to be dealing anymore with the freeloaders, with the takers, with the ones that are curious but they are not sure yet if they want to buy or not. You're going to be dealing with the ones that are ready. And of course, you got to be ready for them too. As we talked before, the ideal client is scary because he demands the best of you. So you got to be ready for your ideal client. So before you go on to this connection, be sure that you have it together, that you have your offerings together, that you have clarity of how much you're charging, where are you selling, if you're doing it online, if you're doing it in person, all that stuff. Connect to your ideal client energetically. Heart to heart connection by expanding your frequency. This is the key. This is the key for attracting clients. This is the key for making a difference. This is the key. So keep this in mind. Again, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have typical traditional marketing tools. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have typical networks. I'm not saying all that. What I'm saying is that you have to find that way of connecting energetically. That way. And, do your own guided meditations or reach out and I can help you with that. But find ways of connecting to him, find ways of connecting to her, find ways of connecting energetically, multidimensional way. First, clarity about who they are, what they do, what do they need, what do you have for offering, and then create soul-to-soul connection. Clarity is very important. Energy follows thought. Whatever you put out there, it's what's going to come. If you have chaotic ideas, you're going to create scattered energy. If you have focused ideas and goals, then you're going to have that. Let me see. Alzira Bello, do you have a list of things you ask they have to fill out before they have a reading with you? It gives more clarity on who you're dealing with. Well, Alzira, for readings, I typically only do limited availability offerings, which are very clear about what they give. Like I was saying, I was talking about the soulmate reading that I did in February. That itself, like the type of product and service that I offer, covers the need of my ideal client for that offering, which is somebody that is single, somebody that is ready to commit, somebody that is looking for their soulmate. So my product and service itself was looking for those, will work for those clients. It will be aligned for those clients. And then for when I do coaching programs, there is a series of interviews just to be sure that we are the right fit. Because not all clients are our clients, but then the ones that are our clients, they will thrive the best and we will thrive the best. So for my coaching programs, I do have a questionnaire that I have to follow. And I started implementing not that long ago also the same for my healing services. When I do shamanic healing, I also go through a process of questions that they have to answer. And then if what you do is only readings and you're not doing more than that, then just go to the places where your ideal client will be. Like if your ideal client is somebody that is interested in energy, then go to places that offer Reiki already and try to partner with the Reiki masters there to see if they will allow you to market within their network. Or if you are looking for, people that does yoga, then partner with yoga studios. Or if you're trying to partner with anything similar to that, just find the places where they hang out. And that will be a way of not necessarily having the list of things yet, but it will allow you to at least be more connected into that ideal client. Let me know if this answers your question. And if this doesn't answer your question, then I will go deeper. I will go more deeper. And also another thing is, like, if they're finding me through targeted ads in Facebook, which I put sometimes, then it's likely that they are filling the age. It's likely that they're filling the it's likely that they're fitting the age range, the location. Facebook even allows you to define the industry or keywords. Facebook also allows you to define spend, like people that make more than $100,000, people that make 50, da 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 da. So all those things will help you find your ideal client. Let me know if that helps. And then moving into the next slide. We've been on for 30 minutes, more than 30 minutes, so I'll end soon. um, yes, it answered your question. Good, I'm glad it answers your question. If you need additional help, reach out. You can always reach out to me. You can always ask questions. I'm happy to help you in any way I can. And I also have, I have a workbook for defining your ideal clients. I have a series of guided meditations for finding your ideal client. I have a lot of workbooks for product definition, service definition that I use in some of my other classes. Like I pretty much teach all the time. So I am going to create 2 offerings for this group. If anybody needs additional information of how to create the link to the ideal client, just reach out. I am going to create a series of tools for solo guidance. So people can get 20 pages workbook that will help you identify all the points, all the characteristics of your ideal client. It will help you understand where she lives, how much she makes, how she looks like, what's her name, all that stuff. This also will allow you to understand the niche. It will allow you to understand who you can serve better, who is the people that you're supposed to be working with. And it will also allow you to, through a guided meditation, connect soul to soul to your ideal client. So I'll post more information probably later or tomorrow in the group in case if somebody wants all those tools. I will just post some information on how you can get them. I know they're efficient. I know they work because it's a process that I've been using for years, and my ideal client always shows up. This is my side gig, but it actually, I am very blessed that I have pretty good profit and revenue from this business. So I know that it works. And I don't have just one ideal client. I have different products and services that I offer. So I have multiple ideal clients for multiple products and multiple services. And this process that I have here, the tools for solo guidance, this is something that I use for each one of my products and each one of my services to define each one of my ideal clients. And then I was thinking this morning that maybe it will be a good idea to also create some sort of group support for this because it's sometimes easier if you have an idea of who your ideal client is and you want to discuss that with somebody else. And it's also sometimes easier just to have some guidance. Like if you have coaching training and you have marketing training, and if you have business training, you can probably do a solo path. But if this is not something that you've been working with before, I will recommend you that you can do some group work. And you can do the group work with me, or you can do the group work with whoever feels like is the best fit. But I'm going to create for this group an offering that has solo guidance tools, the ones that are in the tools for solo guidance description. And then I'm also going to create solo guidance plus a workbook to help you define your products and services. Because it's pretty much impossible that you define your ideal client if you don't have your products and services. It's kind of hard. So I will help you. I will offer you a workbook that will allow you to do the definition of your products, that will allow you to do the definition of your services, and that will allow you to gain clarity on pricing structures. Because you have to be ready. When you meet your ideal client, you need to know what are you offering. You need to know how much you're charging. You need to know how are you delivering this to your client. So I'm going to create some group support just so that you can have this guidance for your product, guidance for your service, clarity in your pricing structures. Plus, I'm thinking that I'm going to add also group coaching sessions for this, just so that you can have guidance, that you can have my support. I've done this for a long time, but you can also get the support from others. And we're gonna do this online and also by having a secret Facebook group for 28 days where you can get a try, where you're both working together on defining your products, you're both all working together in defining your services, and I'm of course there helping you. And then when I do this offering, I'm going to add also 2 pre-recorded workshops, one for how to create an online psychic reading business, and I know that a lot of people in the group wants this information. So I'm going to give you that. I'm going to give you a quick guide on how you can create your psychic reading business online. So you have freedom, because if you do this online, then you can do it from anywhere in the world. if you create your clientele, if you define your products, if you define your services, if you define who you are, what you sell, and who you're looking for to sell, then you can do it from the beach. You can do it from a coffee shop. You can do it from anywhere. You don't have to be in person. So it's important that you start considering the online market if you're not doing it yet. And I have some statistics. I'll share the statistics for whoever may need them. But I have some statistics about why we are meant to go online. Because it's going to triplicate. There's going to be trillions of people within the next 5 years on the internet. All those people are potential clients. And if we go with the rule that we talked about the other day, that for every 100 people, 15 people will buy a psychic reading, just imagine, right? That's like billions of people wanting to buy your services. And then the other thing that I'm going to include in this coaching, group coaching, is a quick guide to social media marketing. It is important that you connect energetically to your client, but it's also important that you do the due diligence of having marketing strategies, online marketing strategies, and in-person marketing strategies. So I created a really quick guide, a pre-recorded workshop really for this. So when I release the group guidance for identification of product, service, and ideal client, I'm also going to give you some information about quick ideas of how you can start your online marketing. And of course, I mentioned before, having a secret Facebook group. It's great to have the Psychic Side Gig, how to make money doing psychic readings group. But sometimes we need a little bit more of information. Sometimes we need one-on-one work. Sometimes we need to be with a smaller tribe. So this will offer that. But I'll pause this information later. All these will be online, yes. And that's it for today. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, just please email me, info@wendymato.com, and just reach out. Whatever I can do to help you, I'm here. Regardless, I'm doing work together or not, I'm here. I'm here to help you. It's my pleasure to help you. It's my pleasure see you succeeding. Every time that someone comes to the group and shares their stories, shares how they, created their business, or gained their first clients, or went to psychic fairs, or did their first light. All those things are so fantastic. So please keep sharing them. This group is so special because all of you are so given. All of you are trying to help everybody all the time. You are amazing. All this information that you come and share motivates other people to do the best that they can do, and also helps others that are afraid to take the first, second, third step. By you showing them that you are succeeding, by you showing them that you are doing the steps, other people's going to do it too. So thank you so much for being part of the group. Thank you for looking at this training. Have a beautiful day. Thank you, Alcida, the same to you. Thank you, Julie. Have a wonderful day. This is going to be recorded. Have a very happy Sunday, and bye-bye. Thank you so much.